right, guys, welcome to the show. We are talking studs and sucks of Week 2, NFL Week 2 recap highlights for Fantasy Football 2020. It was a crazy Week 2. There's a lot of guys that crapped the bed. There's a lot of guys that did good. And I want to welcome to the show who is replacing Tim this week is Tom Santinello. What's going on, Tom?
Good morning, Joe. What a week.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Tim could not be here today, so you are replacing the, Tim for the Studs and Sucks show. And I know you're here every Wednesday for the Fire and Ice show. Make sure you guys follow Tom Santinello. I've linked it below. He's got a new episode coming up. He's more into the reality aspect of things. So follow the Tom Santinello podcast. I've linked it below. Great content there for you. All right, Tom, we're talking studs and sucks of Week 2. We're going to go through every position here. I mean, let's just roll through it starting with the quarterbacks, going to wide receivers, tight ends, and then saving running backs to the end. And before we get into that, man, was there a lot of injuries? What are your thoughts on all of the injuries going on, man? That was crazy last night.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we're going to keep seeing more. Big players, too. A lot of big-name players going out. I think the lack of preseason and the lack of a really organized offseason is what's causing a lot of it. There was some word about the turf in New York, right, as well, that players were unhappy with, but it's just unfortunate to see. And they're all a lot of season-ending torn ACLs, torn Achilles. It sucks.
It's unbelievable because when you draft for fantasy, if you're talking first round, you had Saquon Barkley, out for the entire season, torn ACL, I believe it was, gone. And when I looked at that play, it didn't look like something that would have done that. It was like I don't know how he tweaked it. It was just really weird, man. And then he was starting to look explosive on a couple plays. I was getting excited because I own him in a couple of leagues. Luckily, in the one league I have him, I actually ended up getting Devontae Freeman. Now, apparently, Freeman now working out with the Giants. Do you think Freeman ends up with New York?
Well, Freeman seems like he's about who's paying him the most. Nobody's his demand yet. Remains to be seen. So we'll see. I mean, they don't have a good football team. They were in it yesterday, but I think there's a good chance he could end up there. They just don't have anybody. It would be a place for him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, with fantasy, it's crazy. Michael Thomas not in the game, in the games last night or yesterday and Sunday. Week 2, obviously not there. He was a first rounder. George Kittle, a second rounder, not there. So many more injuries we're going to get into a little bit more, but I want to focus more on the studs and sucks, and we'll kind of pepper in the injuries as we go because a lot of people came in for these guys. They suck. They do well. So let's get into it. So let's start off with the quarterback position. Some studs, man. I mean, not getting the love that he deserves, obviously, from a pay standpoint, from a credit standpoint, but Dak Prescott had a good game, man. He had a really good game, 450 yards. And that comeback, what happened at Atlanta? I mean, they just dropped the ball completely, blowing a lead, not, using the running game as much as they could be. There was a bunch of mistakes, and defensively as well, not taking a stand. I mean, Dak Prescott, you got to give him credit, right?
Yeah, they have a lot of problems in the organization and the coaching, and they should have gotten Gurley involved in at the end a lot more. But I was really disappointed in Atlanta, but you have to be happy for Dak. I mean, he was behind and just gunning it, and he put up over 400 yards, I think 450, and he delivered when he had to deliver. It was just a remarkable comeback. You have to admire it.
Yeah, so 2 studs at the quarterback position for you guys, Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott. And I'm pissed, man. I'm pissed because I'm a Gurley owner. Yeah, he ran the ball 21 times, but around the goal line, you're putting Ito Smith and Brian Hill getting stuffed. Put your best player in. Like, this isn't a preservation mode. You need to win. Now you're down 0-2. You're at the goal line, and you get stuffed. Brian Hill gets stuffed. That's annoying to me as a fantasy owner. Gurley's not being utilized yet again. It's unbelievable.
No, and I think a lot of it comes down to coaching here. I mean, listen, I know they love Dan Quinn. The players love him. The organization loves him as a person, and I've met him. But he's a great guy, but they need a change there because you can't blow leads like that. You just can't do what they do, coaching, with that talent too. I mean, they could easily be what? I mean, I don't know if they beat Seattle last week, but they're 0-2.
Yeah, it's not good, especially with all that weapons. And they had Russell Gage come out to play quarterback once. I don't know if you saw that play.
That was a nice pass.
It was a nice pass right on the fingertips of Julio, and he dropped it. But I think Julio is struggling with a hamstring injury. You could see after that play, he was grabbing his hamstring, and we knew that going into this week. So maybe that played a factor. Maybe lost a little bit of a pep in his step there. But, yeah, very unfortunate and very rare to see Julio drop an easy pass like that.
Yeah, but a nice, ended up being an old-fashioned shootout. 2 good quarterbacks putting up a lot of fantasy points. And I would look for more of the same from these guys moving forward.
Right. All right. Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, all great games, man. I mean, what did you think of last night's game? Russell Wilson, Cam Newton shootout, exciting game.
Oh, I watched it right till the end. Unfortunately, Cam didn't get in. I mean, you knew that's what they were going with. That was their strength. I would have seen a little bit different, like to see a little different of a running play. Put up a lot of passing yards too.
Right.
I was really impressed. I didn't think the Patriots could keep up in that high of a scoring game with Seattle,
Yep.
but Russell Wilson is phenomenal. I mean, he's
Yeah.
probably the best quarterback, best player in the NFL right now. I would say he's just remarkable with what he's doing and connecting to Metcalf.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Russell Wilson, I mean, he's on a roll and he's at the prime of his career. He's at the peak. I mean, he's just going to keep doing it.
It's funny because I remember years ago I started collecting cards. I was actually collecting since I was young, and then I was looking through my collection. I've got 2 Russell Wilson Prism cards, and Prism, if you know sports cards, are the top kind of premium card. So I've got his card. I was looking on eBay to see what these things are worth, and the one I got without the auto is $1,000 US from what as long as it's mint, and that was ungraded. And I have that card, and I also have the one with the auto on it. So that's got to be worth, I don't know, a couple grand. So I got to go maybe sell those things. I don't know. I might sell them. Get a new studio or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize I'm sitting on some gold here, but I might keep him. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to maybe even get MVP, sell him even when he gets higher this year. But yeah, against New England's defense, that was really, really remarkable. Unbelievable.
And then Cam, I mean, he threw the ball, spread the ball around, ran the ball. Let's just see how much he can keep it up. I didn't think they could, keep it up with. I thought like Seattle would pull away. They kind of did pull away, but then New England came right back, and I was really impressed. I want to see how Cam grows in this offense and how they keep moving forward. But both quarterbacks, excellent performances. You mentioned Josh Allen. I was super impressed with Josh Allen. He hit on a lot of deep balls. That's what we said last week. He needed to hit the deep balls. He needed to stay in the pocket and make throws, and he did. He didn't rely on his legs, and this is why I think he pulled it out at the end. Granted, they beat the Jets and the Dolphins. I loved his connection to Diggs, and Josh Allen went up a couple notches in my book.
Yeah, 4 attempts, 18 yards rushing, which is good because he went off that. But then where he benefited was the 417 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. And I talked about this. Diggs will benefit if Josh Allen throws more. And this is what they wanted him to do. And he did it, and he did it good. Now, mind you, he did it against Miami. Can he do it against a team like Baltimore? Yet to be seen, right?
No, it's interesting because we've been talking about that. But also, they haven't been running the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And I thought they'd run the ball a little bit more, but hey, Josh Allen gets that much better going into year 3. I'm all for seeing what he can do, and I was impressed. Very, I would keep rolling with them. You're right. Let's see who they play moving forward. But as of last week, excellent game. Miami, Miami doesn't have a bad D. They're much improved on defense.
Right.
But Josh Allen looked remarkable.
Yeah, Kyler Murray against Washington looked good. Another stud of the week. I'm not a big fan of him either. And Tannehill, I know you don't like him, but he had a phenomenal week. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 26.76 fantasy points. Good week for both these guys. And Mahomes, you got to slide him in there as well.
Mahomes had an off week, and he still finishes in the top 10 in fantasy points for quarterbacks. He just, he still threw for 300 yards. I think a couple scores, had that big Russian play. I think that was overtime. Yeah. Still produced, and even though this wasn't a real Mahomes game, but now Tannehill, I don't love him. I mean, he was efficient. He found the end zone. I think a couple of those could have easily went to Derrick Henry at some point, but Henry, we'll talk about him more moving forward. But yeah, Tannehill, I mean, it was a very efficient game for him, very efficient, and can't argue with that. Kyler Murray, they have 3 teams coming up that are 0-2. I think the Lions, the Jets, and I forgot the other team, but they could easily be 5-0.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a huge Cardinals fan. I think they level out moving forward, but Kyler Murray was efficient. He produced, and I got to give it to him, even though they played one of the worst teams in football in Washington.
It is schedule. It is like if you look at the Texans, they're screwed. I mean, they play Chiefs, then they play Baltimore, and look who's next. They got the Steelers next. Like, does it get any easier for the Texans? I mean, it's schedule makes a difference.
But you're right, because look at Arizona. They could easily be 5-0, and then after that, they got some other cupcakes in there or very games. I mean, they got other teams they play later in the season that good. So, I mean, there's some teams that are looking really bad right now. So, yeah, you have to look at schedule. You have to.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on here to the duds of the week at the quarterback position. Now, wait till the end, guys. Stay at the end where Tom and I will both vote who the absolute dud of the week at each position, the suck of the week, I should say. I don't, we don't call them duds anymore. It's duds and sucks. That's what it is. So we're going to give you a suck of the week. So let's move on to the sucks of the week. Just a couple of names here. Phillip Rivers. I don't know what he's doing. 10 points here. Now they won with 10.8 points in fantasy, throwing interceptions. We know he's kind of notorious for that throughout the years. Tom Brady, though, throwing interceptions, not looking as good. He's dudding it out or sucking it out this week. Daniel Jones, all the hype in the offseason, just not as advertised. He sucked this week. Nick Mullins coming in, replacing Garoppolo. He sucked. Drew Haskins, not that good either, sucking. Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz, all sucking the bed this week. Do you have any comments on a couple of these guys?
You know, one guy I expected a lot more from was Deshaun Watson. He just got paid. I know he wasn't horrible, but you want to be elite. You want to be, you know, I think he's the second highest paid quarterback now under Mahomes. You better perform. You better do better than what you did. Now, he should have done better, but as far as what you mentioned, I wasn't buying Carson Wentz, but he was an absolute dud. He was worse than I thought. I thought he'd at least come back with 1 or 2 touchdowns and they'd put up a fight in this game. I mean, the Rams were my lock of the week. I mean, that to me, that was an easy pick, but I thought it was going to be more of a fight. Wentz was horrible. And on top of it, the O-line protected him. They lost another lineman during the game. Wentz was horrible.
Horrible. And that's when I heard the 128 million a year or two ago, I was shocked. I'm like, why are you paying this guy? He hasn't finished the season. He hasn't proven. Oh, because he had 13 good games. Come on, man. He's just not that
phenomenal games. But you know, I can't call it like Sam Darnold. Okay, he didn't play well, but he doesn't have talent around him. Haskins doesn't have a lot of talent around him. You know, Daniel Jones doesn't, and I don't think Daniel Jones was great, but Wentz, you know, he's got some tight ends. He's got Miles Sanders did good. I was just, and Wentz is that veteran that you expect to get that game out of.
Yeah. All right, we're going to come back to quarterbacks just to give us a dud of the week that we're going to vote on, each of us at the end of this. So let's move on to wide receivers, then tight ends, then we're going to go to running back. So let's rapid fire here. Ridley, Diggs, Edelman, McLaurin, Evans, and Deontay Johnson, studs of the week. And I mentioned Deontay Johnson is going to start tearing it up, and he is. 13 targets, 8 receptions. He got that touchdown, 23.2 PPR fantasy points, finishing 6th amongst wide receivers. A guy that I was getting 7th or 8th round this year in fantasy football drafts. Great week. Tyreek Hill, Hopkins. I mean, 20 points for Hopkins, and I was wrong about him because, again, he is getting a lot of volume. 9 targets, 8 receptions, and the touchdown. They just cannot neutralize Hopkins. I mean, what do you got to say about these studs? Diggs as well, finishing second amongst wide receivers, 13 targets. A lot of talent here, man. A lot of talent here in these top 10 guys.
I think the Brady to Mike Evans connection is really something to watch. I mentioned it in the preseason. Brady loves his big targets that you know got a little speed and can get open. I know Godwin didn't play. Brady hasn't even had a full lineup yet, but I think Brady looks a little less than what he's been in the past. But I think they're still learning to play together. But Brady to Mike Evans, to me, they made some very, very nice connections. Julian Edelman, it was I finished, I think, 4th in fantasy points. Is Cam and Edelman going to be the connection moving forward? I think that's going to be something to watch. Remember, Cam loved Greg Olsen. I know he's not a tight end, but that's something to watch. And Diggs, hey, week in, week out, he looks like a surefire number 1.
Yeah, man, I was impressed. I mean, that's what he said with Diggs. You got Allen throwing the ball. He's gonna, Diggs is gonna benefit. So it's gonna be interesting to watch moving forward. So let's go over a couple duds here at the wide receiver position, and I'm gonna just scroll here. I got a list of guys I got to mention here, and it was pretty embarrassing for a lot of players that are good that just didn't perform. Cortland Sutton, I mean, he sucked this week. I mean, 9.6 PPR fantasy points. I mean, he's coming off a little bit banged up, but still unacceptable. Sucker of the week, Robert Woods, coming off a huge week in week 1. Juju, both these guys around 11 points PPR. Really unacceptable for technically being the wide receiver 1. I don't know about Woods as much, but you got to watch. Sometimes they have these good weeks and they kind of come down after that. There wasn't any real big, guys that sucked. Alan Lazard, we expected more out of him after first week. But I say this guy, and he's going to be there's actually 3 guys actually that are going to be honorable mentions that are going to get suck of the week is Devontae Adams, Darius Slayton, and Allen Robinson. Having good weeks. Adams got hurt, but I mean, you sucked this week, hurt or not, you sucked. I
Yeah,
don't know what to tell you.
Sutton left the game early too this week.
Yeah.
He left it again. Drew Lock was out. That was a tough one in Denver because they have I think they have a decent team. But I mean, wide receiver is one of those positions. There's just a lot of players that can put up some numbers. CeeDee Lamb had a good game, but he still finished 18th in fantasy points.
How can we forget Julio and Ty?
Yeah,
Ty Hilton 5.8 points. Julio Jones 4.4. You are a first round pick, Julio Jones 4.4 points. That I'm just gonna go right to it. He's my suck of the week. Julio Jones.
And we said this with Ty last week. He's lost a step a little bit, made a nice play at the end of the game, but I think Ty doesn't have what he used to have, and I would look for more of that moving forward and what he performed. And Julio Jones was, that was a very bad game from him, injury or no injury.
And maybe we're overlooking a couple of guys, but these are the guys. I mean, Juju, like I said, Julio, T.Y. Hilton, all these guys should be performing. And Slayton coming off a first week should be performing. Allen Robinson, you are the one on the team. I mean, if you have 9 targets, you got to catch all 9 targets. You can't only catch 3 targets. You are the wide receiver, and you're complaining about getting paid and doing this and that. You got to catch the ball, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and I think in Pittsburgh is the same thing moving forward. They're going to spread the ball around, and you've seen it yesterday. You've seen it week 1, and you might have some guys with big games. The rookie, what is it, Claypool out of Notre Dame had a decent week, and
breakout game.
Yeah, he's going to spread the ball around, but you got guys Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp for the Rams didn't really, Robert Woods just got paid. Yeah, I expected more out of him. That was big money. The Rams always overpay their players. Very bad salary cap management there. But Keenan Allen, I mean, you just got paid. Another dud of the week.
Yep. All right, let's move on to tight ends here. The studs of the week, Tom. And here's why I wait on tight ends. This is a perfect example because, again, George Kittle already hurt. Tyler Higbee, a guy that looked safe and reliable last season, was pretty much 6th, 7th round pick in all drafts. He was going for value. Mike Gesicki, I was getting late in the draft, and these guys are top 2 guys: Higbee, Gesicki, and then Geno Smith. Obviously, with the injury to AJ Brown, inflated his numbers. But I love Mike Gesicki, and I expected him to do well. 11 targets. I mean, that is what you want to see. He was 2nd in targets, only to Kelsey this week in week 2. Mike Gesicki, man, what a stud this week.
Well, there's 3 guys. Mike Gesicki made an unbelievable touchdown catch. I mean, he was the only. I was like, who caught that? I was like, it had to be Gesicki. He's the only one on that team with those kind of hands. He's a very good tight end. Noah Fant, I mean, he dropped one big pass, and otherwise he would. I think he was a guy we spoke about. You could get on value earlier on, and then. The guy who stepped up was Mo Alley Cox from Indianapolis with your boy Jack Doyle.
I know.
Is he something to look forward to?
He's not really known to be a pass catching tight end. I think he ended up dropping one too. Like, I'm not excited about him. I'm really not. But I mean, Rivers targeted him 6 times. That's something to get excited about. Possibly. I mean, I've got him as a waiver wire suggestion if you are desperate for a tight end this week, but I'm just not really excited. I mean, Doyle comes back. They've got other targets. I don't know what's going on with Rivers right now. I did like the fact that they run the game. We're going to run the ball more, and I love Jonathan Taylor. He's getting into the groove, so we're going to talk about that in a second, but I'm not excited about Mo Alley Cox. A breakout guy, though, Dalton Schultz here, man. I mean, what happened there? Dallas with, what's his name, got hurt. Their other tight end. I don't even know his name. So he got hurt, and Dalton Schultz came in. So,
weapons out there. It's like, I mean, they got 3 good receivers, good running back. Now they got, I mean, there's a lot of weapons there.
I mean, Dalton Schultz, they like their tight ends, but I don't see a huge amount of volume going to him. Blake Jarwin is the name I'm thinking of. The name just wasn't coming to me. Blake Jarwin he was on IR. So, I mean, Dalton could be a sleeper. They got so many weapons. It's just like, I'm not really targeting them, with CeeDee Lamb and Gallup and Cooper and running the ball with Zeke. It's like, how much volume will, Dalton get? But again, another waiver wire guy you can consider.
Yeah, definitely.
For waiver wire week 3. We're going to talk about, I do a waiver wire show, guys, tomorrow. I might release it tonight as well.
I mean, are you doing dud? Zach Ertz.
Man,
crying about money, doesn't perform.
Mark Andrews coming off a huge week, 3.9 points. Everyone going crazy. But DraftKings budgets are nuts. Mark Andrews, the top guy. I mean, 3.9 points. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, the tight end is so volatile. Jimmy Graham coming off a good week 1, having a crap week.
Yeah, I expect that from him.
I think, big expectations again, like I said, for Mark Andrews, and he just completely crapped the bed this week. I don't know. No excuses for him, right? Dallas Goedert coming off a big week 1, crap in the bed week 2, right? He sucked this week.
Lamar Jackson, I mean, I watched him play. He looked really good. He looked efficient. He got outside the pocket, hit the open man, and he hit his receivers a lot. But Mark Andrews is still a stud, and he'll get back in that passing game.
All right, so let's go to running backs. I mean, I'm not sold on this guy for the year. I'm really not. But how did Aaron Jones have such a good game? Like, how did the game, was it because of Adams hurt again? Like, how do they let them run this much? Detroit, I know Detroit sucks, but how do you let one guy get this much volume? 45.6 fantasy points. Aaron Jones.
Pretty disappointing because Detroit, I mean, it feels like they didn't recover from that flop against Chicago and Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
And Green Bay's offense, they don't have a great defense, but Stafford I think he threw a horrible pick 6.
Yeah.
But Aaron Jones, don't forget, he had one of those runs was a 75-yard touchdown run. You take that away, you got like 17 for 60 yards, 17 for like 85 yards or something like that, which is still a good performance. But he had that big play, and that factors into it. They didn't get Dillon involved too much. AJ Dillon, the young rookie, got 5 carries. Aaron Jones had the hot hand, and they just rolled with him. Aaron Rodgers was efficient, but I don't buy on him long-term for this season. He's in a contract year. Maybe he's got a little more pep in his step. One of the guys that did not get an extension. But Aaron Jones, I mean, what did he also had a receiving touchdown too and 60 yards receiving? I mean, it was you have to give him credit where credit's due. I don't think that, I wouldn't see that moving forward the whole time. Leonard Fournette, your boy, bounced back.
I don't understand. This is why Arians is full of crap. I mean, he said that Ronald Jones is the guy. I don't. Do you believe that? Why would you say Ronald Jones is our guy? He's our guy. And then never. Why did he lie to us? And this is why you don't believe these a-holes.
And he played horrible week 1. I mean, he got a little chance early in the game. I mean, he played. I think he even got a touchdown. Ronald Jones, but Fournette, when closing the game out, listen, they were up 21-0. Brady threw that pick. They were about to go up 28-0. They let Carolina back in it. And then Fournette just put it away. He said, "Here, Leonard Fournette, this is what Fournette did well in Jacksonville when they went to the playoffs and when they won. Give it to Fournette in the 4th quarter and let him win you the ball game when you got the lead." And that's what they did. And I think that's why they got Fournette for that. And maybe he'll be the every down back moving forward. But that was big time Leonard Fournette, and that's what the old Leonard Fournette would do. And I like that.
Yeah. Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. We talked about Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. There's no way these guys are going to finish top 10 again. I don't see both of these guys unless they play a crappy defense like Cincy again. It's Christian McCaffrey going down. From what I'm hearing, it's an ankle, but it's not that serious. But they're going to do an MRI. We should get results soon. I haven't checked the news here as of the recording. We're recording this at 9 a.m. Eastern. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to see what happens with Christian McCaffrey. He's a stud. Zeke Elliott, as advertised, performing. And David Montgomery finally having that breakout game, even though he went out for a bit with an injury. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He came kind of head down, nose diving into the turf there. And he came out good. And I think he came back into the game. So I am excited about David Montgomery moving forward as long as they utilize him. I mean, he only had 16 attempts. I'd like to see that come up. James Robinson had a touchdown to inflate his numbers there with Jacksonville. I mean, is he the solution moving forward? I don't know.
I think so. Chicago's a shit show. I just don't like Chicago. I mean, they started off like the 4th quarter they played last week. Well, they played well the first half. I think they were up 17-0. And in the second half, they bombed. But it's another game with really bad coaching, as you know. And I'm just hoping. I mean, Montgomery seems to be their best player on offense. So I'd like to see him get the ball even more and be more involved in the offense. McCaffrey, like you mentioned, always a stud. Ankle injuries are tough. Seemed like he played on the bad ankle for a little while and still found the end zone.
Right.
Which was impressive. James Conner took his job back from Mel, who had a big-time fumble. Miles Sanders came back, performed. The only player on the Eagles, really, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the goal line guy. He sliced through for a touchdown. I saw that. But now this is interesting. Darrell Henderson with Cam Akers going out with the rib injury. And we're talking about injuries. Like I said, I wanted to kind of pepper them in here. Cam Akers is starting to get the work, starting to look okay, and then he went out with a rib injury. Brutal. Darrell Henderson comes in. What's that?
Yeah, no, I was going to ask. That was unfortunate injury. I was going to ask you. Mostert looked like he was in for a big game in 49ers, and then
he goes down.
He would have been a stud of the week, I think, facing that atrocious Jets defense.
Yeah, so when I do my waiver wire week 3 show, which is coming out like again tonight or tomorrow, I usually do it Tuesday morning because I wait for the Monday night game. But Jerick McKinnon, Tevin Coleman are 2 targets. Jerick McKinnon coming in getting 3 attempts for 77 yards and a touchdown. So either one of those guys, I think McKinnon's going to be the guy to emerge there. I've been waiting for him to have a breakout game and really get in there. So I don't know how long Monster's going to be out. I still haven't looked at all of the injury reports, but in detail, but again, a lot of results are coming back. We're gonna get a lot of information today. So Monster, yeah, it was doing well. Crap the bed. Cook again, safe game, nothing exciting, but again, he's getting that goal line work, which is keeping him alive, but nothing too crazy out of Dalvin Cook. So we got to go to some sucks of the week, and I got to take full ownership on these two guys because I have them on my teams, and they really crap the bed, honestly. But what is going on with David Johnson? I know he's playing Baltimore. He gets the attempts, but still craps the bed. Like, what happened?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. The toughest 2 games on Houston schedules were week 1 and 2. So you have nothing but better days ahead of you, I would say, moving forward. You have to understand that. The second thing is, I mean, they're just not getting him involved from the get-go, and they did week 1, not enough, and he still put up some points, but I think he'll be fine moving forward. I just think that was a tough game against one of the top teams in the NFL, and there's nothing you can do. And when you fall behind, it's some coaches get away from the run, and Bill O'Brien, the GM, I think needs to be fired. Bill O'Brien, the coach, should be on the hot seat. They don't have a good offensive line either. I mean, they look terrible. They just looked terrible yesterday, and they didn't look like, same as week 1, they didn't look like they could compete with the big boys, against Kansas City, now against Baltimore. But I would look for better days ahead. I just think, hey, they played a really tough team. They didn't get him involved, and I think they will moving forward because Deshaun Watson can't beat the Ravens, as we know.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened to Todd Gurley either, just not being utilized to his full potential. Like, I don't understand. I really, really don't understand, like, not using him near the goal line. He got the attempts. The attempts were there, 2.9 yards per carry. Just can't get in the groove, man. I don't know what's going on with Todd Gurley.
I think with better coaching, he can put up some more fantasy points, but I don't think he has what he used to have.
Yeah.
He definitely lost a little bit. How much did he lose? We'll see how the year keeps moving forward. He did get his 20 carries, and you're right. With those 20 carries, he did not produce, and he definitely was more on the dud side this week.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sucks here. Even Clyde Edwards-Helaire, first-round pick, 10 attempts, 38 yards, 13 points. I mean, that sucks for a guy that was drafted in the first round when you got a guy that was going undrafted and Joshua Kelly beating Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's crazy. That's fantasy for you. And I have Joshua Kelly stashed in a couple leagues, but Joshua Kelly outperforming Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Johnson, Todd Gurley, Devin Singletary, Derrick Henry, 8.4 points. Derrick Henry.
Well, we said this last week, and I told you, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, do not get used to him getting the ball 25 times a game. Kansas City will spread the ball out, so that doesn't surprise me there.
I called him Alari. What was that? It's Hilaire. The H is silent. I know. That's fantasy heads. We hear these names all the time. Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
But he's a good player, but, I mean, they only got him 10 carries. That's not his fault. I mean, that's their offense, and I said this time and time again, there will be different players stepping up different weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Darwin Thompson was getting worked. I'm wondering if they're going to start using him near the goal line because they were using him on some short downs.
Yeah, and looking, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But look in Baltimore. I mean, Dobbins only had 2 carries, and he did well with them. Gus Edwards had 10 carries for 73 yards. Ingram had a really bad week, but he had that 1 4th down touchdown. Yeah, 31-yard scamper. But they'll, Devin Singletary more another bad, committee over there. So we have the committee factor. Then you got the other duds, like you mentioned, Derrick Henry, couldn't find the end zone. And he just, he had 25 carries, averaging 3.4. So that's not a good week, but they still respect him. And that's what opened up the game for your boy Tannehill to get those touchdowns.
Right. All right, let's vote, man. I'm going to go back to quarterbacks here. I'm going to vote for my suck of the week, and you got to give us a suck of the week. I'm going to write this down because I got to go on social media with this and announce this. So actually, let's go with this stud and suck for each position. So let's have some fun here. So I'm going to say that let's start off with this stud of the week at quarterback position. I'm going to give this to Josh Allen. He's my stud of the week because I'll tell you why. Because he made that transition.
Yeah.
I'm proud of him. He had 4 touchdowns. He didn't rush it. He threw it, and he did well throwing it. Mind you, it was against Miami. I still got to give him my Stud of the Week award. Who would you give the Stud of the Week award to?
I'm going to give it to Cam Newton just because, first week was against Miami and he played well, but I think he looked spectacular. He looked against in prime time against a Super Bowl maybe contender.
Yep.
Cam Newton all the way.
All right, I'm going to give you my suck of the week just because he sucks so bad. I'm tempted to give it to Carson Wentz. I really am, but he still mustered 12.38 points, so I can't do that. I'm kind of torn in between Phillip Rivers and Brady. I'm going to give it to Tom Brady as my suck of the week.
Better choice.
8.68 points. Shame on you. You have to. Do you agree on this one?
I do, because I told you Phillip Rivers, they're going to lean more towards the run, and I think Phillip Rivers played an excellent ball game, and that's what you're going to get more of that from him. So I wouldn't expect a lot moving forward.
All right,
I'm going with Teddy Bridgewater. Not that I think he's a great quarterback, but he's having every opportunity to succeed, and they're going to be behind because they have a bad defense, but he could not put the ball in the end zone. He did not look good. He'll put some yards up, but Teddy Bridgewater, sorry.
I mean, honorable mention, we got to say this, Daniel Jones for crapping the bet as well. All right, we got to move on to wider.
My honorable mention would be Gardner Minshew, but that pick at the end of the fourth quarter was horrible. He was on pace to come back and beat the Titans. And another respectable week. I'm telling you, he's the guy.
All right, so let's go to the wide receiver position. I'm going to give it to my guy because I believe in him. I'm going to give it to Deontay Johnson. This is a guy that I believed in. He showed up, 23.2 points, touchdown, 13 targets, 8 receptions. I'm going to give it, even though he finished 6th amongst wide receivers, I'm going to give it to my man Deontay Johnson.
Wow.
Yeah, I know I could have easily went Diggs. I think Diggs deserves this, or Ridley, but I'm going to give it to Deontay.
I'm going to give it to Mike Evans for a couple of reasons. One, because he came back from injury. 2, because everybody thought, he wasn't going to be as good as Godwin, and they forgot how good Mike Evans was. And I hope this game reminded them.
Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, you've been on him the whole offseason.
He's so good. He's talented, always has been. And I'm with him.
I'm going to lay the shame. And you can't tag this player because I've tried tagging him on Instagram. I think he's a very private person. He just doesn't like to be tagged. Julio Jones gets the suck of the week at wide receiver position. What did he get? 4.4 PPR points. That is unacceptable for a first round pick. So I'm going to lay into him on social media very soon.
Nah, I mean, give him a little slack. For the last 7-8 years. I mean, you got to give him a little slack, I think.
No, he's a wide receiver 1. And there's no slack.
How many targets did he have? A lot.
Did he? Let me check his target count here. I got 4 targets, so he wasn't even targeted a lot. Maybe because he wasn't getting open. Maybe that's his fault.
But you're right. You do expect a lot more from him, and unfortunately, didn't get that from him. I'm going Devontae Adams just because.
Yep,
people love him. 75th overall in points this week. 3 points.
He did get hurt though. He got hurt though, but still.
I told you that. I said, do not rely on Allen Robinson, Devontae Adams. These guys aren't consistent over their career. Look at the stats. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, they don't.
I mean, and I wanted to prove it. It is what it is.
All right, stud of the week at tight end. Who's your stud of the week at tight end? You go first, I guess.
I had Gesicki. I mean, I have to, unless you're going with him.
No, we can have the same guy. I'm going to go with Gesicki as well, man.
Oh, I mean, honorable mention. I'll go. You take Gesicki. I love the guy, but Jordan Reed coming back from a million concussions, replacing George Kittle. They have no wide receivers. I'm just going to go Jordan Reed. I respect the game.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think he had the game of his life. I'm not sold on him. I mean, with Kittle being out, obviously he had the opportunity.
Yeah, but he was a talent player, and he was. Play this year. They don't have a lot of receivers. I can see him as long as he stays healthy. He's going to get touchdowns. And he was with Shanahan in Washington. I know Jordan when he came out of college, and he's always been a good player, but he's always been a little fragile. But comeback start of the week, comeback of the week. I mean, he deserves it just because of 17 points, couple touchdowns. I think moving forward, you can see more of that out of him.
All right, my suck of the week at the tight end position. Shame, 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 shame. Mark Andrews, shame on you. You get, I mean, 3.9 PPR fantasy was. Are you kidding me, dude? That's terrible. That's my suck of the week. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, he's the top, usually what, top 5? I mean, I'm going Zach Ertz just because I expect more out of him, but I agree
Yeah.
with you.
I mean, he had a safe game, 9.2 points. That's safe. Anything at 10, around 10 points, is considered a safe tight end game. I mean, yeah, it's still based on Zach Ertz and what you expect out of him. Yeah, he hasn't been doing as good as advertised for sure. All right, running back position here. I mean, I got to give the stud of the week to, and I'm not a fan of him, but I like him. I met him in person. He seems like a nice guy. I got to give it to Aaron Jones. I mean, he deserves it. He's the stud of the week.
He does deserve it. I mean,
He
he's head and shoulders above everybody this week. There were other guys that had good games, but they didn't really, like Austin Eckler didn't punch it in, your boy. But
Yeah.
I think respectable game. Miles Sanders, he had a respectable game. But I mean, you're looking at Aaron Jones just finishing over 15 fantasy points ahead of everybody this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to give it to him.
He
Yeah.
left Fournette in the dust, man. He just totally killed it. But he has those boom games. And we've seen this last year with Aaron Jones. He's going to have a boom game. Then he's going to come back and put up 4 points next week. Just watch. He's not going to have the same type of week next week. I don't see it. And the suck of the week has to go to Todd Gurley. He really pissed me off this week, man. 6.1 points on 21 attempts, 2.9 yards per carry. Completely unacceptable, Todd Gurley. You are the suck of the week at the running back. Who do you got?
I was torn between Gurley and Derrick Henry, but I have to go with Gurley too, just because Henry, I think, kept that team in check and allowed Tannehill to do more. But
Yeah.
and just Gurley was a lot, just didn't look as good.
No.
2.9 yards a carry, I believe. It was just he was worse.
He's terrible. All right. Well, those are the stuff.
Better.
It was a fantasy nightmare. I saw a lot of those GIFs and those memes coming out with people pouring drinks and stuff like that so they can handle and numb the pain and stuff like that. So it was crazy, man. I mean, just people everyone just shocked this week, man. It was just crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy week. And it only got Thursday night football. I think it's the Dolphins and the Jags. And then after that, we're ready to roll back into week 3. Can't wait. I mean, we have a game tonight too. Can't forget that. I mean,
I'm excited about this one.
Josh Jacobs, can he overtake Aaron Jones?
I hope so, because I got him and I need 63. I'm down 63 points. I got Jared Cook and Josh Jacobs in this one league. And the only reason I'm losing is because I benched. This is really sad. I ended up benching Matt Ryan for Aaron Rodgers, and Matt Ryan I think did better. And there's a couple other things. Here's another reason why I'm losing this league. I benched Gesicki for Hawkinson, and that was a grave mistake. And that's the difference. I'd be winning this week had all these adjustments been made. There's a couple other things I did. Brutal, man. And Diggs, I think Diggs was on the bench as well. I benched him for like T.Y. Hilton. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's just like you just learn, right? Even with me, like I know my stuff, and sometimes you get it wrong, man. What can you do?
Yeah, you'd have thought Hawkinson would have had a good game. Stafford didn't look good over there. I mean, Diggs 2 games in a row as a number 1. I mean, he's looks like he's on pace, him and Allen. But let's see how they play against some better teams moving forward.
Well, I'll give you an example, right? A lot of people started Juju, right? After a good week. I mean, who would you have started if you had Juju and Deontay? I would have probably started Juju. I mean, I like Deontay, but what about Diggs? I mean, would Diggs or Juju? You probably would have started Juju after week 1, right? And that's just fantasy for you. Just
I wouldn't, because Diggs is the one. I mean, John Brown's getting the ball, but Juju, I told you, they're going to spread the ball out in Pittsburgh.
They will, yeah.
I think Juju's a solid, respectable start, but I mean, Diggs is getting the targets. I mean, targets. I mean, he's getting the ball.
Yeah, but after week 1, there was some uncertainty there, and then Josh Allen fumbled. Anyway, besides the fact, Diggs did not finish top 5 last week. That's for sure. Where did he finish? He was way down there. I think he finished 22nd. He had 9 targets. Oh, it's still 9 targets, not bad. But yeah, I mean, I think Diggs moving forward is going to be the guy and really, really start getting it. So yeah, man, that's it. Studs and Sucks week 2 NFL recap, NFL week 2 highlights recap, whatever you want to call it. Studs and Sucks. Guys, I'm excited that you're here. Smash thumbs up. Let me know below who your Studs and Sucks are here on YouTube. Thanks for being here. Tom, thanks, man. As per usual, we'll see you Wednesday.
Wednesday it is.
All right, guys, we are out. We'll talk soon.